Hi guys, I'm Sam from the Unity of Life and welcome back to my channel. And if you watched our very last video, you will have known that we looked at how to reintroduce a zoo animal back into the wild. So today we're going to be looking at something a little similar, but we're looking and changing our focus onto wildlife. And these animals have been in the wild, and it's basically how do you rehabilitate this wildlife. So they've been born into the wild, something has gone wrong, they've been hurt, usually by human influences, and you need to nurse them back to full health before you can reintroduce them back to where they belong. So that's what we're going to cover in this video. It is going to be a lot less technical than the last video, because this was work that I did at college, so it isn't up to the same level as the work that I did, that I spoke through in the last video. So without further ado, let's get started, because I am dying in my little sauna, because it is July when I'm doing this, of 2021 when I'm recording this video, and it is boiling hot. And I don't do so well with the heat. So let's get into this. So thousands of wildlife species suffer or die unnecessarily through our, as in humans, arrogance. Probably even arrogance. Yeah. Or with a misguided aim to help them. So what I mean by misguided aim, you see like a little baby rabbit or a baby deer or a baby bird, and there's no parents around. You're like, oh no, its parents abandoned him. Let's move it. Let's touch it. Let's see if it's okay. And then you leave it, and mum comes back, or dad, or both parents, and they reject their offspring because it smells very like a human. So don't do it, okay? So maybe baby animals are abandoned by their parents because humans choose to intervene, like I've just been talking to you about, without waiting to see if the parents would come back. However, so we're looking at a fox to begin with. However, in the cases of foxes, they are hunted by humans for sport, which I don't agree with, and I cannot believe that it's still being debated till this day in Parliament, okay? Because you have a law where you're not allowed to do it, but a lot of people think you should be bringing it back, and it's absolutely outrageous, okay? So unfortunately, wild foxes, they only live to 2 years of age in the wild, but when they're in captivity, they can live to as old as 14. So we're going to be looking at a plan on how to rehabilitate a red fox. So we're going to be looking at the treatment. Have they got? So first of all, we're going to see, are they injured or have they got a disease? Okay. So step one, before you do anything. So by the way, I'm not an expert in rehabilitating animals. I've never actually rehabilitated an animal as such. What I have done, the closest to this that I have done, is given sugar water to a bee, and saved a bat from drowning. Because we got a lot of bats around here. I'm not sure what kind of bats they are, but it's quite common to the UK, the species. And on a summer's day like this, I was going to bath my dog outside, and I had walked. It had rained the night before, like torrential downpour, and I went to my stepdad to see where the bucket was. He told me I'd walked past it, because sometimes I walk around with my eyes closed, and I went back to this bucket of water to see a bat on its back doing a backstroke, and it was very, very weak. So we gently tipped the paw of the bat out of this bucket, and we didn't really know what to do with bats. So we took him to one of our neighbours who this time had a massive leaf pile, and we put the bat onto this leaf pile, and they left the bat to dry off, and once the bat had dried off, because it was like a shady dark area as well, it flew off. So it survived. Peanut did survive. Yes, I did name the bat Peanut. Anyway, so before you do anything with the fox, if you are rehabilitating a fox, and you should have experience and qualifications in doing this. Don't just take this video as a guide and as a tutorial of how to do it. It is not a guide or a tutorial of how to do it. It's just sort of talking you through the basics of what can happen. So before anything is done with the fox that's being brought in for help, you should keep some distance away from the fox and conduct a visual health check, because the fox is probably very stressed, and it is quite likely to harm you unintentionally, but it thinks you're a threat at this point. So this will be you looking at how much energy the fox has. So is it very energetic or is it very lethargic? Can you see any bones through the fur or sticking out of the flesh? Is there any fur missing? If so, what does the skin underneath look like? Is it inflamed? Is it swollen? Or is it pale and scabby? So once you've determined all of this and you've done your visual health check, step 2, you can have determined that the fox needs some type of care. So what kind of care does it need? So you're going to go about catching it in a manner which causes the minimum stress to the fox, so you can have a closer look. So when you have the fox caught and you have a closer look at the injuries you saw before, are there any that you didn't see from a distance, because some of them are minute that maybe you've got to be close up to see them? Is it missing teeth, claws? Is there any dry blood? Step 4, take the fox to a vet. This will allow the fox to get the right treatment it needs, and any diseases that the fox may have can now be diagnosed. Step 5, know your diseases. So you may not be able to, may not be qualified enough to say what the fox has and diagnose it, but if you have a rough basic idea of different diseases, you do know how to help treat those diseases. But obviously, because you're taking to the vet will also have recommendations to help you with that as well. So foxes are closely related to our four-legged best friends, also known as the dog. There's a fly in here, it's doing my head in, sorry. And they can get many diseases that the dog can get. So we're looking at mange. So mange is caused by a little tiny mite, like a fly, that digs under the skin and it feeds off the host, whether that's a dog or a fox. And it leaves the host with very irritated skin. I've seen some really bad cases of mange, and the best treatment of that is baths, which most wild animals and dogs hate, but it does make them feel better and it does help smooth the skin. They have to have these medicated baths. It's not just an ordinary bath, it's a medicated one. So they can have internal parasites. They can also have canine infectious herpes. So felines can also have a feline variation of herpes, which is a viral disease of the liver, for dogs anyway. They can also have hepatitis as well, which is actually the disease of the liver, not the herpes. That's me reading things wrong because I'm dyslexic. Rescue and so I don't know why I'm reading that reference out. Anyway, barrier nursing methods. So sometimes you do need a barrier nurse, and that helps to stop disease from spreading, because the last thing you want to do is infect any other animals in your care. So make sure that you only deal with the one fox and not any other animals you may have at the centre. This is if you've got a rescue centre. You also need to make sure that the fox is housed on its own and away from other animals, which is basically to stop the spread of the disease and not to be cruel on the fox itself. So the equipment that you use should only be used for the animal and not come into contact with any other animal. Things like disposable bedding, food bowls, and the clothes you wear, so overalls and gowns and rubber gloves and masks, will help stop the disease from spreading. So you need to be wearing things that you can just throw away after every time you've been in contact with a particular animal. And wash your hands. If this coronavirus pandemic has taught us anything, it's to wash your damn hands. Step 3. Things that can't be disposed of, like thermometers, because unfortunately thermometers do go up the bum of most animals, and you only do that if you're trained to do so. I would recommend you sticking a thermometer up your pet dog's bum. A, they won't appreciate it, and 2, you can cause some damage because you don't know where you need to stick it as such and how far you need to go. And water bowls should, because sometimes you have metal water bowls, they should be thoroughly cleaned after an ill fox has recovered and should be thoroughly disinfected. So you do it more than once, basically. All the cleaning products should be only used for the sick fox and disposed of after recovery. Step 4. After each visit to the ill fox, you should wash your damn hands, like I said, in a separate area from other sinks, even if you have been wearing gloves, okay? I don't care if you wear gloves or not. Still wash those hands, people. To prevent imprinting on humans, because some animals do imprint on humans and then they think they're human, and we want them to be scared of humans so that they won't come into danger afterwards. So if you are hand rearing a fox cub, it won't imprint on you. However, using barrier nursing will ensure that the cub can be released back into the wild. Step 1. So the cub needs to have some fear of humans to survive on its own in the wild. To do this, you need to make sure that the cub knows it's a fox and what another fox looks like and what another fox does. To do this, you can put it with other fox cubs the same age when it's older, or you can find a surrogate. This can either be a vixen, a female fox, or even a toy fox. Yeah, it's weird what you can do with a toy these days. It's fantastic. If the fox is a newborn, then it will not be able to maintain its own body heat. If you don't have a vixen available and are using a toy fox, then putting a hot water bottle near the toy where the cub will be. This can also be achieved with heat blankets, mats. A newborn will need to be fed very often, so every 2 hours, same as if you're hand rearing a puppy, like we discussed in how to hand rear a puppy in our video. The newborn will need help to go to the toilet, again, just like your newborn puppy. And obviously, they go to the toilet when the mother licks their private area and their bum to stimulate them. You do not need to lick them. You just get wet cotton wool and gently rub in that area. Save your tongue. And after that, when the cub is a bit older, you should have less contact with the cub. So as it gets older, you reduce the contact in which you're having with the cub. This is where other cubs or adults come in handy. They can teach the fox all it needs to know to be a fox. Basically, fox etiquette, if you will. If you do need to go into the enclosure at any time, you should rub the substrate of the fox on yourself. It might sound a bit gross, but this transfers the fox's scent onto you, so now you smell like a fox, and this helps the foxes to create a human scent once they've been released. So, general husbandry while you're at this rehabilitation centre. So, the fox should have access to clean and fresh water at all times. That should just be bluntly obvious. That's just common sense. The water should be changed daily and checked frequently, as foxes are known to pee in it. They do pee in their own water. It's a bit gross, but it's just what they do. So you need to be able to provide a suitable diet. So this is why you need to have some background knowledge on the animal. And if you don't know anything about the species, then I recommend that you take it to somebody who does. So foxes are lazy by nature and are natural scavengers. This saves them a lot of energy. This, however, doesn't mean that they are not capable of hunting for themselves. A fox will eat birds, rats, mice, voles and rabbits. There are many things that have to be considered when curating the diet for a fox. These include the age, gender, health status, and and the time of the year. So the fox may need to eat more during the winter because there's less food available in the wild, so they tend to stock up and eat as much as they can. So make considerations for the fox's medication. The medication may need to be taken with or without food. If they need to be taken at a certain time of the day or at the same time every day, so kind of what you do with your dog. You need to decide if the fox is a long stay or a short stay. If the fox is short stay, then the enclosure should be lined in newspaper and that should be changed every day. The fox is there. Towels should be used as bedding. The newspaper can be easily disposed of and the towels can go into a boiled wash. And when the fox is released, the enclosure should be scrubbed down with disinfectant. I absolutely hated doing that at college when we did full cleans for the animal enclosures and we had to disinfect it all just to put the same animal back into the same enclosure, but it had to be done. If the fox is a long stay, then the fox should be placed into an enclosure that has plenty of soil, straw and hay. The enclosure should also have a hide, as foxes love to dig and hide their food. Making sure the substrate is nice and deep will encourage the natural behaviours. The substrate should be spot cleaned every day, so that means you just go in there and you pick out all the poo and you get rid of all the wet damp stuff where they've weed. That's what a spot clean is, for those who aren't aware. And fresh straw and hay to be changed every week. Once the fox has been released, then the enclosure should be stripped out of everything, including the soil, which is a pain in the neck, and then should be scrubbed with disinfectant. So how do you know that this fox is ready to be released? So check to see if the fox knows how to recognise its prey and how to hunt. So there's many different ways you can do this. If the fox is an adult and has only been a short stay resident, then it should still recognise its prey. It should be able to hunt for itself. These skills it won't have forgotten overnight. So observe the fox. How is it moving? The fox needs to obtain a normal movement again before it can be released back into its territory. The fox has also got to be fit and healthy. Obviously, that's the whole point. The fox must have all its senses working. It needs all of them to survive. You can check this by creating a scent trail or hiding its food. So it has to sniff it out. Before you release the fox, you must wait to see if it's a healthy weight. And if it's appropriate, that weight is appropriate for its age, its gender, and the time of the year. So you need to also check the fox's fur. Has it grown back? Like it's, is it bright? Is it fluffy? Is it shiny? Does the fox show any fear of humans? Because a tame fox is a dead fox, basically. Health check the fox. Is it healthy enough to be released? Will this fox's release affect the fox population? Affect the fox population, e.g. will it going to spread disease? You hope not, because you hope at this point enough there isn't any more disease and the fox is healthy and fit again. You should always release a fox back to where it was found. That's important because they are territorial, or as close to the area as possible, and they should always be released at dusk because they're quite nocturnal. You need to determine which type of release will suit the fox. So you've got a hard release, which is where you will release the fox straight back into the wilds, and a soft release, and this is where the fox, especially for cubs, is kept in a temporary enclosure in the environment it will be released in for a few weeks before finally being released, and you keep that door open to that enclosure so that the animal can come back if it wants to. And it'll happen for a little while, then it'll stop. Okay, so that's all I've got for today. In the next video, we're going to be looking at an action plan for a wolf. So how do you rehabilitate a wolf, basically, and reintroduce it into the wild, that type of thing. So that's in the next video. If you've learned something and you feel like other people will learn from this video, then share this video. If you've not done so already, there's my face, click on it and you can subscribe. If you click that notification bell, you'll be notified every Saturday and Wednesday when I upload a video. And if you want to see any of the other animal contents that I have that are related to this, then they'll be here in this playlist and you can click and check those out. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye!